Rising. Hello. Welcome to Generation Climate Rising. My name is Megan. I'm up here with Miles and Maddie. We're organizers with Maine Students for Climate Justice. We're the folks that organized this event today along with our partners 350 Maine. And we're gonna, let's hear it. Maine Students for Climate Justice. We're gonna make a couple statements for the press. And then some speakers are going to come up and tell their stories about why they are rising for climate justice today. So Maine Students for Climate Justice, we are a student-run coalition. We're a coalition of student groups from across the state. And we came together about a year and a half ago because we realized there was a real need for organized student power around the issue of climate change and climate justice. So we've been working together. We're dedicated to confronting the systems and institutions that fuel the climate crisis. And we are getting organized together. We do trainings, and we also organize. This is the biggest event we've ever organized, and we think it's the largest youth-led climate action in the history of the state. So Maddie's going to talk a little bit more about what we're doing here today.
Hey everybody, how you feeling? So, why are we here today? Climate change is happening in Maine right now. In a short span of time, energy extraction coupled with rising temperatures will put Maine's economy at risk and jeopardize the livelihoods of workers. There we go. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Our economy's reliance on agriculture and fishing means that we are directly vulnerable to the dangers of warming waters and increased droughts. The consequences of climate change are not distributed evenly. Globally, indigenous people and people of color are the most directly impacted by the abuses of the fossil fuel industry. In Maine, the fossil fuel industry and climate change are also harming residents, especially low-income communities and those relying on the marine, agriculture, and winter tourism industries. This is not the way life should be. The youth of Maine are marching today for a better future, for those already suffering and those at risk of suffering. We are marching for the end of damaging industry and the beginning of community-powered solutions. Together, we will win a fossil-free future.
By denying climate change, our governor denies that Maine is suffering. In a few minutes, we'll hear stories from Mainers that are harmed by fossil fuel extraction and pollution. The majority of them are young people because youth especially are getting a raw deal from Governor LePage and his short-sighted energy policies. The fact is, Maine is not open for business for the state's youth, as we are pushed out of the home we love because our governor refuses to take responsibility. Today, we will show Governor LePage what it means to take climate justice seriously. Today, we will show him that Maine students will lead even as he refuses to. Today, we will show him what the way life should be looks like. Democratized clean energy, vibrant community engagement, and local solutions which empower our citizens, not extractive corporations. We march to demand an immediate ban on all new fossil fuel infrastructure in the state because we can no longer afford to overlook the injustices of climate change. We students and youth are the state's future, and together we say that fossil fuels are history. Thank you. All right, thanks so much for coming, everybody. In a few minutes, we'll get started with some speeches, but in the meantime, we have some more folks on the way, so let's get to know each other first.
Yeah. Mingle!
Hey!
Sounds good!
Right.
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
Are you starting to get in a minute. I'm just making a couple announcements. Hello! So we're going to start with some stories in a couple minutes, but while we're waiting for one of our speakers to show up, is Sarah LaChance in the audience? Sarah LaChance is going to, so We just wanted to let folks know that today in Quebec, thousands of people are also marching for climate action. And one of the, right, yeah, woo, let's hear it for Quebec. So one of the things they're marching for in Quebec is to stop the Energy East pipeline, which is part of the same network of pipelines that they were trying to bring through South Portland, Maine, bringing tar sands from Alberta, Canada to the east coast of North America.
Tar sands oil.
Tar sands oil, exactly. So Sarah LaChance is going to be, oh, she's over here with the purple. Can you wave your hand? Put the sign up in the air. So Sarah has a couple signs, and she also, you have a marker? So they're doing an action where they're taking photos of people who have written on their hands, no pipelines. So Sarah's going to be walking through the crowd with the signs and with the marker, and you can take a photo with her so that we can be in solidarity with their action today and bring our movements together. So if you're interested, you can write no pipelines on your hand, and Sarah will take your photo and we'll post it on the internet. And also, this day is about building community together and getting organized together so that when we leave, this isn't the end. We can continue to stay connected with each other. So if you haven't, please sign up. We have a table over there where you can sign up with your contact info. And if you're interested in starting a Maine Students for Climate Justice group in your school or in your community, we can stay connected with each other. And I think there's also some folks circulating the crowd with a sign-in sheet. So raise your hand if you're doing that. Okay, well maybe just make your way to the table. Make sure to sign in before you go today. So we are going to start in just like 5 minutes. We wanted to give folks time to trickle in. So hang tight and get to know each other.
All right, welcome. Welcome to Generation Climate Rising. Woo! Yeah! All right, I'm Michael. I'm a sophomore at Boone College. I got into activism like a year ago, and now I'm here. It's a fabulous, fabulous thing to do. This is an event organized by Maine Students for Climate Justice. We're a coalition of different schools that started from different divestment campaigns throughout Maine. And this is our first big event, and it's awesome. I love it. I love seeing everyone here. So we're gonna now hear some stories of different people who are part of the climate justice movement throughout Maine. And first up, we have Sherry Mitchell. She is a Earth and human rights activist, a member of the Penobscot Nation, director of the Land Peace Foundation. She's amazing. And she's sick right now. She's a little cold. And so let's give her a nice warm welcome to warm her up, I guess. Woo!
Kwe, Willis Buzzwell, Ndaliwisi, Wanahamugasit, Najeo, Wanawebskek, Nalita Hazu, and Diane. I'm sorry, I'm really sick. I'm doing my best with my voice.
Okay.
One moment, please.
Try that.
You're doing great.
Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
Is this better? Okay. I usually have a really big voice, but right now it's kind of tiny. So, my name is Sherry Mitchell. I'm from the Penobscot Nation, and I'm very, very happy to be here and to see you all. And just being here with you is making me feel better. So, thank you all for being here and for participating in this very important event. There are a couple of things that I want to talk to you about today. I'm not necessarily going to tell a story, although what I'm going to talk about is the story of us all. There are two fundamental pillars that this country has been founded upon. These pillars of conquest are genocide and slavery. And they are still existing in the world today, and we're still operating under those pillars of conquest. Now it's ecological genocide and corporate slavery that we're all embedded in. We're stuck in this system that enslaves us. And our bodies, our planet, the earth, the air, the water is all being poisoned. And that's why we're all here, because we recognize that there is a crisis and we want to do something about it. And so these pillars of conquest have been embedded into the psyche of the people all over the world. and it's a malignancy, it's a sickness. And so what happens when you have an injury to the body? All of the red blood cells rush to that area to try to heal it. And so I like to think of us all as the red blood cells that are rushing together to try to heal this gaping psychic wound and environmental wound that's resulting from it on our planet. And so, we have a lot of work to do. And so I think that one of the things that has occurred to me lately is, because I was actually, over the past year, I've been very, very sick myself. And not just with a cold, but with something a little bit more serious. And looking at how I heal my body and how I live my life. And so one of the things that occurred to me is that, we battle all of these things, right? We're battling against fracking. We're battling against tar sands. We're battling against the depletion and the destruction of our waterways. We're battling against all of these things. We're saying no to all of these things, but what is it that we're saying yes to? I needed to say yes to my own health to get well. We need to say yes to what we really want to be able to create, because whatever we feed grows. And if we continue to feed opposition, if we continue to feed negativity, if we continue to feed us versus them, then that's what we're going to grow. There's going to be greater division. There's going to be greater conflict. There's going to be no solution. And then when we get on the other side of this thing, there's not going to be anything for us to step into that's meaningful. And so when I look at all these young faces, you are the movement going forward. Because us old timers, eventually we're going to want to sit on our porch and smoke corn cob pipes and tell stories of days gone by. And maybe Nikki and I will drink a little whiskey or something in our old age. I don't know. But there is going to come a time when you're going to be the ones that are going to be leading all of these things. You are our hope for the future. You're our seventh generation, right? And so as you move forward, I encourage you all to think about, how do we create something that's totally different? Because even the way that we're doing activism is a form of conquest. It's about crumbling this other system, right? We're still embedded in the psychic mindset of conquest, which is divide and conquer. So we're stuck in all of these false political movements that are created to keep us divided so that we don't unify and rise up to solve these problems. And we're allowing that to happen. We need to find a way to create something that's far more egalitarian. One of the other wounds of the Western mindset is this idea of individualized success, that we are, the markers for success are that, we're successful through school, we're successful in getting a job, we're successful in getting our little house with a picket fence, we're successful at buying our own piece of the earth, right? And so this actually is also maladaptive to our survival on the earth, because we're not made to be living individualized lives. Back in the day, we still have this fear, right, in the primal part of our brain of being ostracized and outcast, because our mind, because evolution has been such a short period of time that we got from where we were living in communal lifestyles to being in this madness of individualized living, we still relate that to death. Because being ostracized and being cast out by your people meant that you would die, because you weren't able to survive because of the communal way of living that helped support all of the members of the community. And so now this individualized idea of living is also a malignancy in our minds, because it's maladaptive to our survival on the planet. It wastes an incredible amount of resources. So we're throwing out tons and tons of stuff because we're being taught that we need to stockpile stuff in order to be successful, right? We need to buy all of this food. We need to have a refrigerator full of food all the time that we can't possibly eat in our little individualized homes. But if we shift the way that we're living to a more communal way of living, if we go back to those types of practices, that is in line with who we are naturally as human beings. If we look at the natural world, it's very cooperative, right? And so we need to go back to that model. It's not enough for us to just have a green economy without changing the way that we're living. because we're not going to be able to survive, even under a green economy, if we continue to live the way that we're living, with the excessive amount of waste that we're involved in creating. And so we have some words in our language. One of them is samagnas. It's one of the words for warrior. And what it means is using just enough force to keep the other from harming you. And so we need that, right? When we have this big gaping wound, we need to triage it. We need to stop the bleeding, right? So we do need to be on the front lines. We still need to be exerting that pressure to stop the destruction of our planet. We need to, exert enough pressure to keep them from continuing to harm us. But we don't want to do it to the point where we're harming others, right? Samagnas is using just enough force to keep the other from harming you without crossing that line to the point where you harm them. Another is mamabisu, which means it's a value of enough. He or she has enough, that they have enough to live their lives with dignity. They have enough shelter, they have enough food, they have enough love, they have enough compassion. All of those types of things. And what it tells us is that when we're thinking about our relatives in Dilnabamuk, right? When we're thinking about our relatives, the choices that we make in the way that we live our lives are done so with consideration of all of the others that we're inhabiting this planet with. Because if we're taking more than what we need, that enough equation, then we're depriving somebody else of that. And we forget about our interrelatedness and our interconnectedness. And so that's part of the sickness that we also have to cure. It's not just about down with big industry. It's not just about, overthrowing this really corrupt and destructive system. It's about creating a new way of living, a more egalitarian way of life, a more communal way of life. And we don't do that by trying to overthrow the current system and then put in place our system on top of it. We do it with samagnas, just enough pressure to keep them from continuing the harm, and then a lateral move out to build the type of world that we want to live in. We need a radical revolution of people who are committed to changing the way that they live. That is the only way that we're going to be able to save this planet and to honor our role of preservation for the seventh generation. We need radical commitment from a number of people who are willing to start living in a more communal way, who are willing to let go of excess, who are willing to compassionately act on behalf of their brothers and sisters, right? And so my thought for this day, when I was thinking about what I wanted to say coming down here, is I challenge you, all of you young people, to think about those things, to think about how is it that you're going to be able to create something that's different so that you can end this mad cycle of conquest that we're living under. Because it's up to you to be able to do that. We can have the ideas, we can recognize that things are flawed, we can identify all of the things that we don't like, that we want to change. But what we need to do is we need to be able to create what it is that we want to preserve. We need to be able to support the types of things that we hope to be able to pass on, right? And so my challenge to you today as we begin this event is for you to take up that torch, that light bulb, right? And start cultivating that idea of how do you create something that's totally different, that doesn't look like anything that we've done before, that is more humanely aligned with our interconnectedness with the natural world and with one another. And I strongly believe that you all can do that. There's a prophecy out there, the Rainbow Warrior prophecy, that talks about people from all of the different races, from all corners of the earth, rising up together at a time of immense crisis in the world. And we are that generation. And when you look out over this crowd, everywhere I go to speak, I see the Rainbow Warriors. Those red blood cells coming to the site of the wound to try to heal it. And you're a part of something that's really, really big. There may not be a ton of people here today, but this is a good, healthy turnout for a Saturday at the beginning of spring in Maine. It's been a very long winter. And so You're a part of something that's huge, that is rising up all over the world. And collectively, we're all a part of that. And so I'm so honored to be here with you today. And I believe 100% in your ability to do something beautiful and brilliant. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sherry Mitchell, for being with us here today and for those words, for creating that container for us. So next up is Christina Perez, who is a founding member of Portland Racial Justice Congress. They've been doing incredible work in the greater Portland area coming out of the Black Lives Matter movement. Christina's a founding member and is also an urban garden youth educator. Thank you so much.
Hey. Hello. Okay, sorry. Now it's cool. Hello. So a little bit about me. When I first moved to Maine, I was one of 2 Hispanic students in my class, and in my school, and the other student was my sister. Currently, present day, I work as an urban garden youth educator in, dare I say, 2 of the most diverse schools in the state of Maine. And I'm not here to tell you about food access and the connections to oil. I'm assuming, speaking to Generation Climate Rising, that you guys already are well informed about it. And if you're not, I recommend resources like Capitalism and Climate and Global Change, and do a little side homework on that. And the work that you guys are doing are great. I want to focus, as mentioned earlier actually, on these rainbow faces that I see on a day-to-day basis, who come from diverse backgrounds, parents, family members who are doctors, parents, family members who come from war-torn backgrounds, and these wars are happening due to American greed for oil access. The information that I'm presenting to you might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I want to focus on the social implications created by systems that are working against humanity. In our current society, our current society's efforts to accumulate wealth is leaving behind Black and people of color's lives. This accumulation of wealth is dependent on systematic oppression like racism. An example is something that's happening here in the state of Maine and in this very city with Governor Paul LePage's budget proposals that leaves new Mainers' lives on the chopping block. Currently, asylum seekers have to wait 150 days in order to receive legal work permit, and in the meantime they rely on general assistance in order to have food access. These people rely on general assistance for the bare minimum, and with Governor LePage's budget cuts, this will be gone. And it doesn't stop here, but Governor LePage's budget proposal also increases sales tax, which also increases the cost of living for all of us. So my message to you is to call your legislators, and if you're well informed, share all the information and what you know. Don't be afraid to have conversations with strangers. You all are passionate people out here for a cause, and I mean, goddamn, we're trying to save the world, you know? And personally, I feel like a sustainable future will be one where my students don't feel marginalized for being different, where we can be in this world and feel okay to be different. And all of you guys are beautiful, and thank you for what you're doing.
So how y'all feeling today? I don't think LePage can hear you. How you feeling today? Great. All right, so I have a little chant for us. Is anybody familiar with Asada Shakur? Yeah. Okay. We're gonna do this 3 times. The first time it's gonna go a little soft. We're gonna get louder and louder. Repeat after me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and protect each other.
We must love and protect each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
A little louder now. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and protect each other.
We must love and protect each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
One more, give it all you got. We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and protect each other.
We must love and protect each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Black lives matter.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
What?
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 Black lives matter.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. Woo! All right. We are honored to have with us Maine's #1 badass, Iris Sangiovanni from USM. It's a bold statement.
Cool. I just, like, my heart is full of so many vibrations right now. I, like, want to thank everyone who's spoken so far and for everyone who's here right now. Oh, okay. Is that better? Awesome. So, I'm Iris Sangiovanni. I lived all of my 20 years in South Portland, Maine. Yeah, I'm in. And I'm studying political science at the University of Southern Maine. I'm an organizer with the Fossil Fuel Divest UMaines campaign and Maine Students for Climate Justice. My motivations for such involvement? Well, I'm a part of the Generation Climate, a climate inheriting the burden of the climate crisis. Almost every government in the world, including the U.S., has agreed that any warming above a 2 degrees Celsius rise would be unsafe. A temperature rise of 0.8 degrees Celsius has already caused far more damage than most scientists expected, as a third of summer sea ice in the Arctic is gone, as oceans are 30% more acidic, and as devastating droughts and floods increase around the world. The fossil fuel industry claims reserves 5 times the amount we can release to maintain a 2 degrees of warming. I've seen this all happen and intensify in my lifetime, and I know this demands concern and action. The fossil fuel industry has continually tightened its grasp around our political systems, which threaten our environment and have social ramifications. In 2013, I witnessed ExxonMobil with Portland-Montreal pipeline outspend South Portland citizens, my hometown, 10-1 to push through tar sands exportation. This project involved the flow reversal of an old pipeline to move tar sands oil with toxic chemicals added, which would be burned off in South Portland, endangering our community. With much gratitude, I can say an ordinance prohibiting tar sands was passed by our city council. Yeah. So for us in South Portland, we fought and we succeeded in preventing tar sands oil from coming to our community and from making the air in our community carcinogenic and unhealthy. But I really want to remind us all that the destruction that tar sands has already brought to communities. And I wish to honor right now the fight of the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation in Alberta, Canada, whose lands were unlawfully taken and used to extract tar sands oil. Their community has suffered terrible health problems and deaths, and their land will never be the same. So I want to honor that. And I want to acknowledge that I'm a part of this fight, and I'm connected to the people in Alberta, Canada by a pipeline, and that our actions are connected, and that the battle we're fighting is unequal. They are facing destruction right now as we speak. So I want to honor what they're doing, and I want to say that everyone has a human right to clean water and a healthy environment. Action is needed. We cannot be complicit in the human rights abuses of the fossil fuel industry in order to meet our own energy needs. We need to move beyond that. Communities around the world are already rising to resist the toxic and polluting practices of the fossil fuel industry. Together, we can win a fossil fuel future. We are a generation rising. We as the Generation Climate demand no new fossil fuel infrastructure. We need to put an end to all state investments into clean energy. We as Generation Climate are rising for democratized clean energy systems that work for the health and livelihoods of all people and our planet. We are a generation rising. Thank you.
Oh, I have chills. Thank you all so much for coming. This is so powerful. So I'm going to introduce Luke Sakara Flanders. Luke is in middle school. He's from Freiburg, Maine, and he's going to talk today about water. Hello. My name is Luke, and I am thankful for every person that showed up today with their concerns about climate change. I feel grateful to be part of such a powerful group of people. For the reasons we come together, we know that one of the biggest problems that my generation faces is climate change. It is us young people that are being confronted with the devastating effects of corporate greed and pollution for profit. Corporations have corrupted our political system for quite some time now, paying off politicians to carry out their agendas, many of which have resulted in environmental destruction. It is our time now to stand in between these corporate powers and our environment and politicians to secure our right to a healthy future. Yeah. My mom and I live in Freiburg, Maine, where we are currently being manipulated and controlled by the Nestle Corporation for our groundwater. They need... That's right. They need our water to feed their Poland Spring brand bottled water. They are trying to get rights to take our water for the next 45 years. That's what I like to hear.
Get mad, Luke.
They are pursuing this after us citizens said no to them. This is a stupid idea because of all of the droughts and climate changes that are happening, and because we don't know if there will be enough clean water for the local people in 45 years. Nestle has the biggest water bottling plant in the world in Maine, and they still want more. They have sued our town for saying no to them already. They want to put more water bottling plants in more towns in Maine and export our natural heritage. My mom was born in the early 1970s. There was 1/2 the population on this planet in the 1970s than there is today, at over 7 billion people. The world is always growing in population, but not in water. There will never be any more water on this planet than there is right now. At the rate that industry is polluting our water, we will have little left for our next generations if we do not hold industry accountable. The Nestle Corporation intercepts the natural water cycle here in Maine. Nestle takes our water away from nature. This is our environment, which we need to survive, but Nestle takes it away and sells it to the world in plastic bottles. In the process of bottling, it takes millions of barrels of oil,
and also creates the same amount in wastewater as goes into the bottles. Less than 25% of the plastic bottles get recycled. The bottles go into landfills and waterways, which pollutes our earth. This is not healthy for our environment, and if it's not healthy for our environment, it's not healthy for people.
Right on.
Fracking pollutes people's drinking water. Water bottlers like Nestle are happy to take our water and sell it to them. It takes a lot of water to frack for natural gas, and it also pollutes a lot of water in the process. For tar sands oil, it is also very polluting and destroys a lot of fresh water. There is increasing pressure between the fossil fuel industry and the water bottling industry, and it's the common citizen that will be paying the price with our livelihood and access to clean water. Still got more.
Keep it up.
Small farms are growing in Maine at a rate 4 times the national average. Without water sovereignty, we won't be able to afford to farm our own food if our water is contracted to go to corporations. Why should we give up our water? Will local farmers be able to afford to pay corporations for water to grow their own food? So now, we need to talk about what we can do. We need to boycott bottled water, educate others immediately, and keep Nestle's money away from coaxing our elected officials. We need to look at our future with honesty. Talk to your neighbors about how you can protect your local drinking water sources and our environment. Your kids and grandkids are depending on you and your actions today. Kids, please listen. Ask your parents to help you in making sure we still have good, clean water to drink when we are parents and grandparents. And please, don't drink bottled water if you have access to clean water. Thank you all for showing your support today by listening and participating. We're all in this together.
All right, who's ready to get warmed up a little bit?
Yeah!
We're gonna march. So the wind is with us today. Let's thank the wind. Let's take this energy that we've created here and spread it through downtown Augusta.
Yeah!
We have some folks that are going to be leading the march. We're going to march together. We're going to chant. We have some folks that are going to be leading some chants. And then we're going to come back here together to wrap up.
Oh,